This is the Lockpicking Lawyer, and what I have for you today is a pre-production sample of a Powerlock model P700 padlock. The Dutch company that makes it wanted to get my thoughts, and I think they knew how to pique my interest because in their first email to me, they said it is virtually impossible to crack. I certainly couldn't say no to that. It's a beefy lock, roughly 70 millimeters across, a 14 millimeter thick shackle, and this weighs in at exactly 2 pounds. Dimensionally, it is nearly identical to the Abloy model P358. However, instead of a CEN grade 5 rating, I'm told this is designed to be CEN grade 6. If they do pull that off in the final production lock, it will be impressive. There are very few open shackle CEN grade 6 locks out there. Okay, onto the core. It is a top-loading disc detainer design with some pretty cool stainless steel bare head keys. I'm told there are 12 discs inside, which is, I believe, the most I've ever seen in a core of this design. And with that many discs, regardless of the build quality, it's going to take some time to pick, especially given the fact that the discs must be really thin to fit that many in there. But there is a weakness in the design that might be exploited to get pick times down just a little bit. If we look down the keyway, we can see several discs that closely match the profile of the key. If you give some thought to the way discs interact with the key, you'll realize that those discs have to be 0 cuts. So I can literally just look down the keyway with a light and tell you that discs 1, 2, 5, and 9 are 0 cuts. That's at least some help, but there are still 8 other discs, and it can be tricky to keep track of where your pick is in the lock. The better way to use that information, I think, is to feel for the profile discs and just leave them alone. So let's try to pick this open, and then of course we will take it apart to see what's inside. The first thing we're going to do, as usual with cores like this, is rotate all of the discs as far clockwise as they will go. And I think some of these are giving me some trouble. There we go. One disc was giving me trouble, but I think I have them all rotated now. Then I'm going to get my disc detainer pick, reach past the spinner up front, tension disc 1, and let's get to picking. This will probably take a while. Okay, 2 is loose, so is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think that's 8, 9, 10. Okay, I must have skipped something over because I'm at disc 11 now. Let's go back to, well, let's just work our way backwards. So that must be 11, 10, 9. Okay, number 8 is binding tightly. Got to click out of him. Nothing on 7. Okay, click out of 6. 5, I think, is one of those profile discs. 4, 3, 2. Okay, let's go all the way to the back. It seems like the ones in the back are binding first. Okay, number 11 was binding. I'm slipping off it. There we go. I think we got 11 set. That was 10. 9 feels like one of our profile discs. 8, we already set it and it still feels set. 6 is still loose. Nothing on 5. Yep. Click out of 4. Click out of 3. And we open this up. Okay, took a little bit longer than most disc detainer locks, but it has more discs than most disc detainer locks. Let's see if we can take this apart and see what's inside. Okay, I think the first thing to do is to remove the set screw that holds the core retainer shut. Okay, we should be able to get that out now. Let's get a screwdriver. Okay, now we have the actuator. Let's see if we can pull that out. Now we can drop the balls out. And then we have two more screws on either side that are holding the core in place. This core should come out freely now. You can see it has its own little housing. That should be a little bit tricky to get apart, but hopefully not too bad. That was easier than I was expecting. Okay, let's Okay, here's our spinner, then a little spring, and let's drop that sidebar out as well. Now we have all of the discs. Okay, disc 1 that's one of our profile discs, and it has a false gate in it. Then we have a spacer. Disc 2, another profile disc with a spacer. And a false gate, I'm sorry. Then we have a non-profile disc with no false gates. Another non-profile disc with no false gate. A profile disc with a false gate. Now, I did not run into any false gates while picking, and I'm beginning to understand why that may be. But let's take the rest of these discs out first to confirm that. It appears that all of the non-profile discs on the very last one is a non-rotating disc. You can see instead of that little nub that sticks out, we have this full crescent here. That keeps that from rotating at all. Would make it very easy to tension off of this. Okay, the reason I did not feel any false gates while picking is because the only discs with false gates are the profile discs, and every single one of those profile discs is a zero cut. So when I rotated all of the discs clockwise before I started picking, I actually bypassed every single false gate in there. So, as far as suggestions go in here, if it's still possible to make changes before the production model, I would dump the profile discs, give every single disc false gates, and don't put zero cut discs in the number 1 or number 12 slots. I should say zero cuts or non-rotating discs. If you were to do all of that, this would have been a lot harder to pick. but the overall design without looking at the core is really quite good, as it should be because it's almost exactly like the Abloy P358. In any case, that's all I have for you today. If you do have any questions or comments about this, please put them below. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe. And as always, have a nice day. Thank you.